Hey guys, so far you have learned how to create a single list of values, which is known as an array. But sometimes you may want to create a table of values. A table of values is known as a two-dimensional array. A two-dimensional table of values can look something like this. The rows are the horizontal lines and the columns are the vertical lines. So in this video, I will first show you the typical syntax for declaring a two-dimensional array in C++, and then an example of that. So the syntax for creating a table or two-dimensional array in C++ is as follows. First, you write the type of data that you want to store in this table. Just like in regular arrays, two-dimensional arrays can only store one type of data. For example, it can store a table of only string values or only integer values, but not both string and integer values in one table. So, you would write the type of data that you want to store, such as string, int, or double. Then, you would write the name of the two-dimensional array. Just like for variables and regular arrays, you need to give two-dimensional arrays a name of your choice. Then, you would open two pairs of square brackets. In the first square brackets, you would write the number of rows you want your table to have. Rows are the horizontal lines in a table. So, if you wanted your table to have 3 rows, you would write 3 in the first square brackets. Then, in the second pair of square brackets, you would write the number of columns you want your table to have. If you wanted 5 columns in your table, you would write 5 in this square bracket. If you wanted a table that had 10 rows and 15 columns, you would write 10 in the first square bracket and 15 in the second square bracket. Then, after the square brackets, you would write an equal to sign, followed by a pair of braces, which is where you will fill in the values for the table. Now, filling in the values of a two-dimensional array is different from a regular array. Here is how you would do it. You would fill the values for each row of the table in a separate pair of braces, and you would encapsulate all of these braces for different rows in one pair of braces. In other words, for each row that you want to fill, you would open a new pair of braces inside the first pair of braces, and then write all the values for that row inside that new pair of braces. Then, to fill the second row, you would open another pair of braces inside the first pair of braces. This pair would be next to the braces for the first row. And then, you would write all the values for the second row in this pair of braces. And you would continue doing so for each row that you want to fill with values in the table. So that is how you declare a two-dimensional array in C++. Now, let's look at an example of this. It should make a lot more sense once you see the example. So let's say that I want to create a table in C++ using two-dimensional arrays that looks like or represents this table. This is a table of integer values. So let's see how we would declare a two-dimensional array that represents this table. Well, first, let's count how many rows and columns this table has. This table has exactly 3 rows and 3 columns. Okay, let's keep that in mind. Now, another thing to note is that the type of data that we are storing in this table is integers. So let's go ahead and use this information to declare the first part of the two-dimensional array. So, using the syntax that I showed you, you know that first I would type the type of data stored in the table, which is integers. So I will write int. Next, I will give the two-dimensional array a name. Let me name it table. Now, I will open two pairs of square brackets. In the first pair of square brackets, I will write the number of rows in my table, which is 3. The number of columns is also 3, so I will write 3 in the second pair of square brackets as well, like this. Then I will write an equal to sign and open my first pair of braces. Okay, so inside this first pair of braces is where I will begin filling in all the values for each row in my table. So let's go back to the table and see what values are in the first row. So the values in the first row of the table are 1, 5, and 10. Okay, 1, 5, and 10. So I will go back to my code. Now inside these braces, I will create a new pair of braces. This new pair of blue braces represents the first row inside my table. So I will fill in the values that are in the first row of my table in these new pair of braces. So I will type 1, 5, 10. Great. Now I have declared the values for the first row. Now, let's go back to the table and see what values are in the second row. Okay, so the values in the second row are 10, 50, and 100. So, beside the pair of braces for my first row over here, I will open a new pair of braces which will represent my second row. So, I will enter all the values in the second row of the table in this pair of braces. So I will write 10, 50, 100. Now I will do the same for the third row. The values in the third row of the table are 100, 500, and 1000. So I will open another pair of braces next to the pair of braces for my second row and fill in the values for the third row, which are 100, 500, 1000. Lastly, I will end this whole statement with a semicolon. Wonderful. Now we have created a two-dimensional array in C++ that represents this table. Great. So this is how you can declare two-dimensional arrays in C++.